Hey everyone, Fuzz here. Today I'll be sharing with you a story of a particularly cheaty gunslinger. He's cheesing magic items, he's fudging his rolls, getting up to all sorts of mischief. So of course the DM has to do something about it, right? Enjoy. This one's kind of old, but one of my favourite moments as a DM, because it's eye-rolling, hilarious, and I feel demonstrates my skill as a game master. We were playing Pathfinder, rebooting a previous game with some new PCs at about level 6. We had a fire mage, a rogue, a two-handed fighter, a life cleric, and a gunslinger. The gunslinger ended up being a big problem. He started the game with a created magic item that let him use the spell Blink 3 times per day. In Pathfinder, Blink makes you flicker back and forth between the material and ethereal plane for the duration. This understandably does a bunch of stuff. It makes all physical attacks have a 50% chance to miss, flat. However, there is supposed to be a downside. It makes all your attacks have a 20% chance to miss as well. You could also pass through solid objects such as doors and things like that, as long as it wouldn't block ethereal travel. So you couldn't walk through like a wall of force, but you could jump through a window and not shatter the window, as long as it wasn't 5 feet thick. So you kind of mimic how a ghost can be up to 5 feet into something. That's something that Blink spell can do, you just have to pass straight through it. In addition, you also take less area of effect damage. It's a pretty strong spell. This immediately started causing problems. Our first fight is against a marauding band of gnolls on their way to the real objective. From the get-go, he's running into the middle of combat, blasting his pistols, heedless of danger due to his blink item. The way he checks for it is he rolls a d10, says nothing, looks at it, then informs me whether it missed because of blink, and wouldn't you know it? Every single attack against him is consumed by the blink spell, missing. But not a single one of his misses. Imagine that. I ask him what system he's using. Whether it's highs or lows, odds or evens, what numbers he's using for his own attacks. He says, highs I missed, lows I miss. I tell him that's a little confusing. I ask to see his next roll, and he rolls his eyes, but he agrees. The next attack against him hits. See, what the DM's describing here is he's rolling to see if it hits the armor class of the person first, then checking if it misses because of blink. I've known tables to do it either way, so yeah, as I said, the next attack against him hits. He rolls immediately, picks it up before I can see, and tells me it's a miss. I remind him that I said to let me see his roll, and he informs me, well, you need to be quicker. Just get the next one. Now, I'm a pretty permissive DM, but when crap like that happens, the gloves come off. I tell him to re-roll it, and from now on, any concealment, displacement, any percentile mischance rolls that I don't see, don't count. I informed the rest of the party about this. They agreed, all except for the gunslinger. He argues that combat already takes long enough. He feels targeted. Blah blah blah. I told him that the only other option is I roll everyone's mischance myself, and he shuts up immediately. I have him re-roll the blink chance. It comes up at 2, and he says, see, the thing missed me. I look at him, almost glaring. Dude, what did you say to me before about how your system works? He rolls his eyes again and says, highs I miss, lows I missed. I inform him that is wrong. I confer with the other players, who confirm what they heard, that he literally just said the opposite a few seconds ago. He immediately goes on the offensive. You're all ganging up on me. This isn't fair. I told him that, from now on, any attack on him that scores low, misses. Any attack he makes that checks low, also misses. That we're going to be consistent. We're going to make it easy. No more of the shifting goalposts. He argues for a second, but I move on. Sometimes as a GM, you just have to put your foot down. Right near the end of the fight, someone shoots an arrow at him, and he rolls his d10. It comes up as 0 and he says, "Ha! Missed. Nice try." I say to him, "Dude, that hits. What the heck is wrong with you?" For everyone listening at home, on a d10 you have to imagine there's no side that has a 10 on it. A 10 is represented by a 0. It goes from 1 up to 0. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you have to imagine that sometimes you're using different colors of d10s, and they represent one number in a chain of numbers. So you can imagine one 10s would be for 10s, another would be for hundreds, etc. It allows the d10s to be more versatile when you need to do weird things with the system. So it makes sense. It sounds not intuitive, but it makes sense. If you've used the system, you know exactly what you're doing. He looks at me with this kind of tired anger. "You said lows miss. That's a 0. That's low, you idiot." No. That's a d10. 0 on a d10 is a 10. As in more than 9. As in high. Are you just messing with me right now? He tries to appeal to the rest of the group to back him up, but it just doesn't happen. He is, though, able to waste 10 minutes of my life arguing that 10 is less than 5. So I guess that's a thing. At this point, I'm super done with this. We just started, and I already have cheating, players challenging my calls, a dumbass attempt at gaslighting, and we're maybe 2 hours in. I don't want to ban him for various out-of-game reasons, but I need to do something about this. So I decide to alter the adventure to make things more interesting. Their adventure was to go and look into a village that had been abandoned due to, what they were told, was a bunch of ghosts. They talked to a few escaped villagers who spoke of monsters appearing out of thin air and attacking them. So they got a few pairs of goggles that would let them see immaterial things from the local witch. They then set off to look into it. They get into town, and they start poking around. They start making perception checks to look around, finding odd husks. One of them finds a locked bathroom with a dead guy in it and no window someone could have attacked from. They look around with the goggles. They see no ghosts, and assume the spirits must only come out at night. They rest until nightfall. Once rested, they look towards the square, and they see movement. And when they follow it, something monstrous attacks the fire wizard. They all roll initiative. The gunslinger pops his item. And that's when it all comes together. Originally, I was planning on playing the adventure straight. You know, just having a bunch of ghosts infesting a village, PCs clear them out. Standard affair. I replaced those ghosts with spiders. Specifically, a mating pair of phase spiders, an ambush predator that weaves the smoky stuff of the ethereal plane into tangled nests and jaunts through the planes to attack their prey. They're sort of like a trapdoor spider, except instead of springing out of an obscured hole in the ground, they pop out of thin air and are the size of a horse. The party is getting attacked by a couple of these things, shifting in and out of the ethereal plane. The fire wizard is hitting them with magic missile. A good choice, magic missile hits things on the ethereal plane and can even hit ghosts. The two-handed fighter and rogue are holding actions and landing strong attacks on the things when they shift back in to attack them. By the way guys, that's an excellent tactic to use in moments like this. Particularly against things that spring attack you like some Fey do, flyby attacking targets, and, like in this example, something popping out of a different plane to strike in return. The Life Cleric is healing up anyone who gets ambushed, very useful as well. I think the party generally is playing very smart here. But the gunslinger, well, the gunslinger is dying. Remember how Blink works after all. It causes the target to bounce back and forth between the material and ethereal plane. The ethereal plane is where these things live, and that's where their young are. The baby spiders are smaller, but they're still the size of a large dog. Since he's the only one on the ethereal plane, he's the only one they can attack. By round 2, the gunslinger is being mobbed by a horde of ravenous spiderlings, and nobody can help him. He rips the item off that lets him blink, but I tell him the item lets him cast a spell, not that the item is the source of the ongoing effect. He starts demanding that the fire wizard or life cleric cast dispel magic on him, but they're too busy. They're fighting the mature spiders after all. They keep attacking him for the whole fight. 8 of these things, constantly surrounding him. Around 4 hitting every round on account of the blink spell, still holding 50% of their attacks. I have a wonderful opportunity. I describe the gunslinger popping in around the battlefield, gradually growing more and more haggard as the tiny spiders are ripping him to pieces. In one case, a critical of one of the spiders made it hang off his face as he shifted back to the material plane. After a few rounds, he died. And I had great fun describing his flickering body gradually losing its mass as the baby spiders started eating him. I actually got compliments on how evocative I managed to make it. That's pretty immersive, huh guys? The gunslinger's player, he was pretty pissed. He sat there fuming with rage for a good portion of the fight until he rather abruptly grabbed his stuff and left, taking the life cleric with him. They rode together. I asked the life cleric's player if I can control his character for the rest of the fight, and the gunslinger's player answers, "No!" Imagine answering on behalf of another player like that. That's pretty bad form. I got a text about 10 minutes later after they left from the life cleric's player. He gave me permission to puppet his healer, and the fight finished out with the victorious players. We finished the session with the remaining players actually using the gunslinger's magic item on the entire party over a few rounds to clear out the baby spiders and burn the nest. Everyone says it was a fun adventure, and we go home. Later that week I get a call from Gunslinger's player, and he demands I retcon his death because he feels he was targeted unfairly. Well, this is absolutely true, of course. But I tell him I'll do no such thing. He quits the game, and the game is better off for it. My favourite part about this story is that the spiders hitting the village ended up being an interesting twist that I managed to foreshadow effectively, despite pulling it out of my arse literally minutes before they encountered it. This still gets talked about sometimes, and it was conceived entirely out of punitive bitterness. TLDR? Player abuses a homebrew magic item, cheats while using it, whines when the DM takes steps to mitigate his bullcrap. So I feed him to a swarm of devouring spiders that can only target him, inadvertently creating a legendary adventure that my other players loved. So guys, I wanted to bring something up that adds a little bit more delicious flavor to this story. Something I haven't seen anyone else mention. Do you know about the dismiss function on spells? If you ever look at a spell in games like Pathfinder and such, you'll see next to the duration it has a D in a bracket, and most people ignore that, they don't understand what that means. It means at any point, you can just spend a standard action and just go and turn the spell off. At any point, the gunslinger could have just concentrated as a standard action, not even provoking, and turn the spell off. Yep. Kinda adds a whole new level of irony to the situation, makes it much more, feel good, you know what I mean? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, why don't you show us a bit of luck and hit the like button? It actually helps us out a lot. We're a burgeoning new channel, it's a big deal to us. Subscribing even more so. We have our links in the description as usual, so you can come and join us on Discord or support via Patreon. And as always, have a good one. As they approach, So, it hits things that are ethereal, even ghosts. Particularly against things like Fae that spring attack, foes that meow at you. Okay, let me...